So the way that Google chose to explain the PageRank concept was in terms of what they call the random surfer. And the random surfer, as it says, surfs the web at random and goes to random pages. But there's a specific way that he does it in order to quantify the importance score of each of these pages, which we'll look at. But just conceptually right now, just to see what we mean, in this graph on the right-hand side, we have 8 nodes. And so suppose we're starting off at page A, right? And when we're on page A, we're faced with the decision. We have to click on one of the hyperlinks on page A. Right, so we can either go to B, or we can go to E, or we can go to D. So we choose one randomly with 1/3 chance of each because we're choosing randomly and there's 3 of them. And that brings us right down to page D. And so then now we're on page D, and then again we have to choose randomly again. So we choose, well, we say there's 1/3 of a chance of each of these, 1, 2, 3. And so we go over to page E. And then now we're on page E. And then now once we're on E, then we say maybe the person's bored, right? So maybe the person decided that he was bored and he didn't like what he was reading, and so he goes and he enters just a random URL into his browser, www.something.com. And so now this action is just a random, not surfing, because he's not really surfing and clicking on links, but it's just a random entry of a URL. So he's going to just end up somewhere else in the connectivity. And so he ends up on F. And so this one action that he just made now did not follow the connectivity of the web graph, but it's still an action that we take into account within the random surfer. And so, and then when he's on F again, he chooses one of the 2 hyperlinks and he decides to go to G and so on. So just to summarize, with the random surfer, we define 2 possible actions. The first is to pick a hyperlink randomly from the current page. Right, so this is how where you want to go next. You can pick a hyperlink randomly from the current page, and that's this whole 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 business we were talking about, where you just choose one where you go next. And the second is just to enter URL into the browser randomly. And those are 2 different actions. This one follows the connectivity, and this one doesn't follow. And so you can see already how this kind of takes into account the importance of the links here, because the links which are coming from nodes which themselves are more important are going to get visited more often and going to be used more often. And so the question that PageRank asks is, what is the chance that a page is going to be selected at any time? So if we keep surfing over and over and over and over and over again, how many fractions of the total number of searches is each page going to get? Which ones are going to be visited more frequently? And we say those are the more important. So what is the chance a page is selected at any time? And that's the idea behind PageRank. So again now, the ones that are going to get visited the more often are the ones that have links that are more likely to be chosen. And the ones that have links to be more likely to be chosen are in terms going to be from nodes that are visited more often. So you can see sort of a logic that keeps circling here, that importance is dependent upon the importance of the links, which is dependent upon the importance of the nodes, which is then dependent upon the importance of the links, and so on. And it gets kind of complicated as we keep going back. But we'll see how we can quantify that pretty simply just to see what the importance scores mean and how they're represented.